an account of the history of the Zamorins. He collected information regarding many aspects of history and presented in a critical way. K.P. Padmanabha Menon makes a reference to the history of the Zamorins wherever it is relevant to his scheme of writing. Logan and Padmanabha Menon did not write exclusively on Zamorins. In fact, it was K.V. Krishna Iyer who wrote the first monograph on the history of the Zamorins, that is titled The Zamorins of Calicut. The information provided by this pioneering work is still unsurpassed. He has produced a work of monumental stature using the primary sources. Many of the details provided in this work remains to be the most accurate and authentic. The work, The Zamorins of Calicut by K.V. Krishna Iyer, remained as the sole source of information on the kingdom of Zamorins for more than 6 decades, proves its worth. Thus, the Zamorins of Calicut can be rightly regarded as the most comprehensive study on the kingdom of Kozhikode. After all these years and the improvement in historiography, we can point out a few limitations of that work. Political history was the trend of 1930s, and so Professor Krishna Iyer has also modeled his study in those lines. Thus, due to the emphasis on political history, other aspects are not much highlighted. Lack of knowledge regarding many details of the history of early Kerala, particularly about the Chera period, adversely affected the study of Professor K.V. Krishna Iyer. The limitation of the historical method of that period is also evident. The limitations pointed out here do not affect the value of the work, The Zamorins of Calicut. It has to be appreciated as a pioneering study. The limitations are pointed out here only to imply the need for fresh studies. In fact, the academic tradition of appreciating and acknowledging the contribution of a scholar is evident in taking up further the problems of inquiry he has initiated. The fine quality of Krishna Iyer's scholarship provides the present writers, including myself, a secure platform for further research. Krishna Iyer has also written articles on the history of the Zamorin. For instance, the paper titled The Kerala Mamangam is published in Kerala Society Papers. The paper titled Tirunavai Mamagam published in Journal of Indian History, and Venganad Nambadis is published in Ramavarma Research Institute Bulletin. After the work of Professor Krishna Iyer, there was no exclusive study on the Zamorins for many years. P.K.S. Raja and Sridhara Menon wrote on the Zamorins, but their writings made no qualitative improvement as they were heavily dependent on Krishna Iyer's work. In 1987, Dr. N.N. Nambudiri has published a book in Malayalam titled Samudri Charitrathile Kanapurangal, a collection of articles on the Zamorins. He has made use of the palace archives or Kozhikodan Granthavari and partly quoted a few documents. But he is interested more in onomastics and literature and lacks in historical methodology. His recent works, Kerala Samskaram Agavumpuravu and Malabar Patanangal Samudri Nadu, do not contribute significantly to our present understanding of the history of the Zamorins. The works of Ilangalam Kunjanpilla, one of the big names in history of Kerala, after or before I could not place him with MGS, do not deal directly with the history of the Zamorins. But his works are useful for understanding medieval Kerala history prior to the times of Zamorin. Professor M.G.S. Narayanan, his works also help us to form a picture of medieval Kerala. M.G.'s work, Perumals of Kerala, provides us many pieces of information regarding the Cheras and help us for a better understanding of medieval Kerala history. As the predecessors of the Zamorins were Udayavars of Ernad under the Cheras, the details of Chera history help us to look for similarities and differences in various aspects of the history of the Zamorins. M.G.'s recent work, Calicut, the City of Truth Revisited, examines the history of Kozhikode under the Zamorins. Professor M.G.S. Narayanan has made a fresh analysis and help us to understand the social and cultural life of the kingdom. Professor Keshan Veluthat's work on the Brahmin villages of Kerala gives information regarding the pattern and function of the settlements from Payanur in the north to Chenganur in the south. The number of Brahmin villages in the kingdom of Kozhikode is only 4, but these 4 was enough for Zamorin to create much trouble, because 2 of these Brahmin villages, that is Pannur and Chovaram, led the rival factions. Even the Zamorin was a party to this rivalry called Kuru Malsaram. A recent work of Keshan Veluthat, namely The Early Medieval in South India, makes an elaborate study of the early medieval history of South India with emphasis to Kerala. I have also attempted to advance the historiography with a few works on Kozhikode under the Zamorins. Now I will look into the sources. The main source for the study of Kozhikode is the collection of unpublished and now partly published palm leaf manuscripts called Kozhikodan Granthavari. Evidence available is less on the early period of the kingdom of Kozhikode, that is from 13th to 15th century we have less evidence compared with the later period, that is from 16th to 18th century. William Logan consulted a few documents in the Granthavari for his study. K.V. Krishnaiyer made use of these documents elaborately, but after that these documents were lost to the scholars for many years until Dr. N. Nambudiri found them in the Kovilagam of the Zamorins at Tiruchira. Majority of these documents remain unpublished now also. The Kozhikodan Granthavari is an important source for our study. Medieval literary texts and foreign accounts are other major sources. There are a few sources which were not available to Krishnaiyer when he wrote his monograph, as already pointed out by Professor M.G.S. Narayanan. Vanyeri Granthavari, which is edited and published by Professor M.G.S. Narayanan, Muchundi Mosque inscription, which is deciphered and written by M.G.S. Narayanan, and a number of Chera inscriptions brought out which mentions the Ernad Udayavar were not available to Krishnaiyer during those days. Now I will move on to the perspectives beyond the work of K.V. Krishnaiyer with regard to the political culture of Kozhikode. Let us examine the political structure of Kozhikode. The power and authority which the rulers claimed and actually wielded are to be reconsidered. The way in which the rulers sought to legitimize their power has to be analyzed in the light of newly available material and the rich discussion that has taken place at a theoretical level. For the Zamorins, creating an image of royalty was particularly problematic, as they were Nadu Udayavars under the Cheras. They could not discard their past and create a new image which went against it. The Keralopathy tradition of last Chera ruler partitioning Kerala is a case in point. Not only the Zamorins, but also the other chiefs of Kerala who grabbed power and became independent shared this tradition. The Dharmashastra regulation that the rulers must be of Kshatriya Varna may have been a problem for them. They were the Samantas of the Perumals, an image which had already crystallized itself as a distinctive social group or as a kind of subcaste. So they began to style themselves as Samanta Kshatriyas. They started claiming a social status higher than the rest of the soldiers or Nayars through a series of rituals. The different models of pre-modern state are used to explain the political structure of various Indian kingdoms. Feudalism to segmentary state and early state to theatrical state models are used for this purpose. In the case of South India, also we have some such attempts to explain the functioning of the state. The imbalance between the study of early and late medieval Kerala is noticeable. There are a few suggestions on the nature of the Chera state by the scholars. Ilangulam Kunjambillai perceived it as a centralized monarchy. M.G.S. Narayanan also supported it in his doctoral thesis. However, in his later articles, he has revised this view and perceived it as a weak state, characterizing it as a Brahmin oligarchy and ritual monarchy. Keshavan Veluthat has suggested it as an early state. There are only passing references or casual statements on the nature of the state in the post-Chera period. K.V. Krishnaiyer had suggested that the form of government under the Zamorins was an autocracy. M.R. Raghavarya considered Swarupam as a state but did not specify the nature. Professor K. N. Ganesh considers Swarupam, particularly Venad, as a state with several segments of power. Though there are a number of models proposed on state structure in India, regional and peripheral kingdoms are not adequately recognized in such models. The Western concept of the state may not be applicable in medieval regional kingdoms in India. Nicholas Dux, his ethno-historic study on the Little Kingdom in South India, initiated a significant paradigm shift. It shifts the focus of historical research from the center to the much neglected periphery of late medieval and early modern regional kingdoms. The model of Little Kingdom, suggested by Bernard S. Cohn and further elaborated and developed by Nicholas Dux and Margaret Friends, is relevant in the context of the kingdom of Kozhikode and other kingdoms of late medieval Kerala. The Little Kingdom model describes the political units before fundamental changes introduced by the colonial power to its overall administrative, political, ritual, social, and economic structure. The Little Kingdom model is useful as an analytical category to explain the nature of the state in late medieval Kerala. I will discuss here the main features of this model, comparing it with the situation in late medieval Kerala, particularly in the kingdom of Kozhikode. And I may skip a few details because the entire text will be available in the website of Calicut Heritage Forum in the PDF format. So those who are interested may please check those or visit the website. So the main features of the Little Kingdom model is the pyramidal state structure and great king. One of the important features of this Little Kingdom model is the pyramidal state structure and great king. The Little Kingdom model is not proposed as a general model applicable to entire regional kingdoms of late medieval period. Thus, a deviation from the general pattern is not unusual when we apply it to the situation of medieval Kerala. The deviation in the case of great king with respect to the medieval little kingdoms of Kerala during the post-Chera period is that unlike an existing great king such as the Vijayanagara king, there is no surviving great king in medieval Kerala. But the tradition links all the little kings with a great king called Cheraman Perumal. The structure may not be as different as it ought to be. The Vijayanagara king was only a pale shadow of what he was in an earlier period when the little kings or Palayakarar actually wielded authority. The story of the abdication of last Chera king or Cheraman Perumal may be a polite way of suggesting the independent rule of the erstwhile Nadu Udayavars from the Chera overlord. It is evident that as their power depended on legitimation, they made the chorus of receiving power and privileges from the last Perumal. Thus, the political and ritual might of the great king is tacitly recognized by the little kings of medieval Kerala. Margaret Friends, in her work From Contact to Conquest, Transition to British Rule in Malabar, 1790 to 1805, has already suggested this modification to the Little Kingdom, the Little Kingdom model in the case of Kerala. She suggested that the great king does not necessarily have to be a living ruler. Another feature of the Little Kingdom model is fortified villages and local rulers. K.V. Krishna Iyer suggested that the name of Kozhikode is derived from Koil Kota, that is palace fort. The rise and growth of the kingdom of Kozhikode from Ernad and the transformation of Ernad Udayavar to Zamorin is evident. The Swarupam originally held a small territory which is considered as their original place from where they moved or expanded to a larger territory. Even after Swarupams began to control areas beyond their original village, they remained limited in terms of territory and resources. Another feature of Little Kingdom is politics is equivalent to rituals. The ritual and political domains appear inseparable in late medieval Kerala. The political culture of late medieval Kerala had revolved around the rituals. Everything in the life of the royalty from investiture to death and from birth to haircut was heavily ritualized. The rituals helped the royalty to enhance its social status. Royal procession with music or music ensemble, which is called Kottichezhunnalathu, was an important feature of the political culture of Kozhikode. But it was in the celebration of two festivals, namely Mamangam and Thaipooyam, that the climax of the ceremonial expression of the political hegemony of the Zamorin is found. Mamangam was a grand festival celebrated for 30 days, while Thaipooyam was a one-day festival. We can assume that the political and religious domains were neither subordinate nor superordinate to one another. And another feature of the Little Kingdom model is exchange of gifts. The various persons placed at the various nodes of power in the kingdom of Kozhikode received gifts or honors. King received gift or Tirumulkalcha from his subjects. The local magnates or Deshavazhis were interested with different symbols of invested with different symbols of political authority in relation to the Zamorin, which included the sword and the robe or Valum Pudavayum, the shawl and the dagger or Chelayum Chirigayum, or turban, that is Talayil Kettu, etc. Another feature of Little Kingdom model is the traditional form of government. Surubams was a traditional form of government. The primogeniture is not specifically stated in the case of Little Kingdom model, but it can be presumed as patriarchy. However, matrilineal was practiced in medieval Kerala. Thus, the senior member of the matrilineal joint family became the king. Margaret Friends has suggested that the matrilineal structure of the society in Malabar had to be incorporated into the Little Kingdom model. Another feature is the restructuring of power relations. There existed a network of relations between the little kings in medieval Kerala. The relation with the great king or Chairman Perumal is based on the perceived gift of position and honors to the little kings. Even this tradition underwent changes. The relationship between the Zamorin and Valluvanadiri is of particular interest. The Keralopathy tradition records that the last Perumal gave sanction to the Zamorin for his actions against the neighboring powers. The protectorship of Mamangam festival was originally granted to Valluvanadiri by the last Perumal. But Zamorin captured Tirunavaya and the right to preside the Mamangam festival. In fact, the range of a ruler's power was determined by the shifting alliances with other rulers. Another feature of the Little Kingdom model is ecological and economic marginality of Little King. The ecological and economic marginality of the Little Kings of medieval Kerala is one of the most visible features. The last feature of the Little Kingdom model is the lowest level of state structure. Political structure in late medieval Kerala presents the lowest level of a state formation. The Little Kingdoms represent the nominal character of a state, but to search certain specific features of an imperial state in those kingdoms is futile. However, in the features of political structure in medieval Kerala that clearly negate the possibility of a stateless situation. Thus, the model of the Little Kingdom should help us to explain the character and dynamics of the political structure in late medieval Kerala. Let me conclude my paper by saying that these are a few minor additions to the perspectives brought out by Professor K.V. Krishnaiyer. We see in it interesting and intricate use of strategies, rituals, and symbols to secure such power as was possible within the larger structure of polities and economy. The combination of strategies and symbols helped the Little Kingdom look much larger than it actually was and secured for it a power and influence which it did not otherwise possess. Symbols did not just take the place of substance, they made up for it. It is as if the gap between illusion and reality occasionally gets obliterated in the making of royalty. Once again, I thank the organizers for providing me this opportunity of delivering the second K.V. Krishnaiyer K.V. Krishnaiyer Endowment Lecture when we are celebrating his 121st birthday. And I thank the audience for your patient listening, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Haridas, for a very stimulating lecture. Your work has indeed taken forward the research of Professor K.V. Krishnaiyer based on new sources and new interpretations. We are sure that the last word on this has not been said. There is much more sources available in Vallathol Vidyapeetham in Edappal and many other private collections which have not been read and interpreted. So our history of Calicut is already very rich. I am sure that with the analysis and interpretation of these documents and new insights like the concept of Little Kingdom being brought in, we are hopeful that more and more detailed research will be undertaken in the years to come under guidance of persons like you. Thank you once again. Before we conclude with a vote of thanks by Dr. Noon, I would like to make an announcement. As Dr. Haridas mentioned, the entire text of his speech has been uploaded on our website this evening and can be viewed by those who are interested in the text. And the proceedings have been videographed, and this will be uploaded on our website on the 10th of November. I would now invite Dr. Oliver Noon to propose a formal vote of thanks.
Friends, I have been assigned the duty to propose the vote of thanks at the end of this very educative and informative program. We have all been at our attentive best listening to the erudite speakers present here. At the outset, let me thank Professor M.J.S. Narayanan sir, who is in his presidential address explained to us the historical background of the political culture of Kozhikode. As is usual, MGS has impressed us with his profound knowledge on the history of the region. Thank you, sir, for being with us today and sharing with us your insight as a historian. We are greatly benefited by your address. I extend my special thanks to Dr. K.V. Haridas, Assistant Professor, Department of History, Calicut University, who accepted our invitation to deliver the second Professor K.V. Krishnaiyer Endowment Lecture. We are much enlightened by your scholarship and analysis of the topic, Political Culture of Kozhikode, exploring perspectives beyond the Zamorins of Calicut. Our thanks go to